I was falsely accused of cheating by my wife, lost my kids, and spent years rebuilding my life. Then, when she found out I'd become rich, she tried to sue me for alimony. But I turned the tables in the most unexpected way. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's story, I need your help. Our channel has been losing a bit of traction lately, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, it's free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support truly means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thank you so much. Now, let's get into it. Part 1: Using a throwaway account for obvious reasons. This is going to be a long one, but I promise it's worth the read. TLDR is at the bottom. So I'm 34 meters, and I really need to get this absolutely insane story off my chest because the last few years have felt like something straight out of a bad Netflix drama, except this was my real life. It's taken me a while to be ready to write it all out, but here goes. I guess I should start with some background. I was your typical computer science nerd in college, the kind of guy who basically lived off energy drinks and could code for 12 hours straight without blinking. I graduated from a decent state school, not MIT or anything fancy, just your average college in the Northeast. Right after graduation, I landed a job at this small tech startup building cloud security software. I'm not going to give too many details because I don't want to dox myself, but just picture your classic 5 guys in a WeWork type of startup. The pay wasn't amazing at first, around $65,000 a year, and this was in a pretty expensive city. But they offered stock options, more on that later, and I figured it was worth taking the gamble. The founders actually seemed like they knew what they were doing, unlike some other startups I interviewed with that were basically just burning through VC money like confetti. Part 2: This is where I met Amy. Not her real name, obviously. Our meeting was the most clitch meet cute you can imagine. I was at a local coffee shop near the office, running on maybe 2 hours of sleep after a big deployment the night before, when I completely spilled my coffee all over her MacBook. I felt like the biggest idiot alive, but she was surprisingly chill about it. I ended up buying her a new one, which maxed out my credit card, but honestly, totally worth it. Somehow, that disaster turned into drinks, and drinks turned into dating. Amy was working as a dental hygienist back then, super smart, funny, and let's be honest, way out of my league looks-wise. But we just clicked. She actually seemed interested when I rambled about coding, and I loved hearing her wild stories about nightmare patients. 2 years later, we got married. Nothing huge, just a small ceremony in her parents' backyard. We used most of our savings for a down payment on a small starter home in the suburbs. The commute sucked, about 45 minutes each way, but the schools were great, and we were thinking long-term. Part 3: The kids came along pretty quickly after that. Lily was born in 2016, and Max followed in 2019. Not gonna lie, those first few years were rough, trying to juggle a demanding startup job with midnight feedings and diaper changes. There were days I literally couldn't remember if I'd showered or not, but Amy was amazing with the kids. She cut back to part-time at the dental office so she could be home more, and we made it work. Meanwhile, the startup was taking off. We went from 5 guys in a WeWork to about 50 people in a real office. I got promoted from lead developer to engineering manager. The stock options kept vesting. I had about 200,000 shares at $0.5 each. Honestly, I figured they'd probably end up worthless like most startup stock, but I kept them just in case. Life was good, nice neighborhood, good schools, family, vacations to Disney every other year. Nothing flashy, but the kids loved it. We had cool neighbors, 2 lots of young families, summer block parties. Amy made friends with the other moms. I'd grab beers with the dads while the kids had playdates. It was a normal, boring, happy life. Part 4: Then in 2021, Mike and Jessica moved in next door. Mike was this wannabe fitness influencer type, always posting workout videos on Instagram. He had his garage set up like a CrossFit gym. Super friendly at first, always offering to help with house projects. Jessica, his wife, worked long hours at a law firm in the city, so Mike was home a lot during the day, working on his brand. Looking back now, I see all the red flags. But at the time, when you're working 50-60 hours a week, trying to keep a startup alive during COVID and raising 2 little kids, you miss things. Or maybe you notice them, but you don't want to believe them. Part 5: Amy started working out at Mike's garage gym. Said she wanted to get in shape after having the kids. Started wearing makeup just to go work out. Who does that? she'd come back all giggly and full of energy. At first, I thought it was great. She seemed happier, had more pep in her step. God, I was so stupid. Mike, with his shirtless CrossFit obsession, was always helping out. I'd come home to find him moving furniture with Amy or fixing something in our backyard. Always shirtless because apparently shirts don't exist when you've got abs. Meanwhile, I was buried in work. We were trying to close a massive deal with a major tech company, think fall-level security. Deadlines were insane. Some weeks, I was pulling 14-hour days. I'd only see the kids on weekends. At first, Amy seemed understanding. But then the comments started. Mike says you should make more time for family. Mike thinks work-life balance is important. Mike manages to run his business and stay in shape. Like, cool story, Amy. Mike's business is literally posting gym selfies. My job actually pays our mortgage. Then she got really into fitness. Suddenly, our grocery bill doubled. Everything had to be organic and grass-fed. She started buying all these fancy supplements Mike recommended. Our kitchen looked like a GNC threw up in our kitchen. That's how it looked with all the supplements she bought. Amy was working out every single day, always at times when I was either at work or stuck watching the kids. She'd come back flushed, happy, hair still damp from showering at the gym, wearing makeup to work out, and suddenly, her old Target leggings weren't good enough anymore. Nope, now it had to be expensive Lululemon. Part 6. Then came the phone changes. Amy was never much of a tech person. She used to leave her phone lying around all over the place. But suddenly, she was glued to it. Always texting, always tilting the screen away. One day, she set up a new password and wouldn't tell me what it was. We'd always known each other's passwords, not to snoop, but in case of emergencies. Her whole attitude shifted too. She started snapping over the smallest things. If I asked what she wanted for dinner, she'd bite my head off. If I tried to talk about my day, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Not everything's about your precious startup." It was like living with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And then came the moment it broke. I was in the backyard playing with Max when I glanced over toward Mike's garage. Mike was spotting Amy, pressed right up against her, helping her with her form. Max waved and said, "Mommy and Mike are best friends." "Yeah, buddy, I bet they are." I tried talking to her about it, telling her I was feeling uneasy about how much time she was spending over there. Big mistake. She blew up. Screamed that I was controlling, jealous, and trying to stop her from having friends. Then she hit me with, "You're never home, so why do you even care?" Then came the money fights. She wanted a new kitchen, a new car, private school for Lily. I explained, startup salary low now, potential later. She looked at me like I was speaking another language. Part 8. Then I started noticing strange charges on the credit card. Fancy restaurants, hotel rooms in our own city. Lingerie I never saw her wear. Even the kids noticed things. Lily got quieter. Max got clingy. Once, I overheard Max talking to his stuffed animals, saying, "Mommy and Mike are having a sleepover while Daddy works." That hit like a truck. One night, I came home early. Amy's car was in the driveway, but the house was dark. I heard music coming from Mike's garage. I walked over, maybe to talk, maybe to clear the air. What I saw was not fitness. I didn't confront them. I just pulled out my phone, took a video, and went home. I sat in my car for an hour, just processing. The next day, I called a lawyer. He told me, act normal, gather evidence, don't tip them off. Easier said than done. That was the hardest week of my life, pretending everything was fine while they were literally doing their thing next door. Part 9. I had everything ready, the video saved in 6 different places, divorce papers drafted, my parents lined up to watch the kids. But Amy and Mike made the first move. It was just a regular Tuesday. I was at work, knee-deep in code reviews, when my team lead messaged me, "Come to our weird, but not unusual." We were in talks with Amazon about an acquisition. I walked in and saw 2 cops waiting. Amy had gone to the police that morning with bruises, claiming I beat her during an argument about money. She said I lost control when she asked me to spend more time at home. She had pictures of bruises on her arms and face. I was arrested right there in the office, handcuffed in front of everyone. Spent 48 hours in jail before my brother posted bail. No phone, no access to my work laptop, company policy. After an arrest, I couldn't go home. Amy filed for an emergency restraining order. I slept on my brother's couch, wearing an ankle monitor like some criminal. The company put me on administrative leave, their way of firing me without the PR mess. 15 years without even a parking ticket, and now the local news was running local tech executive arrested for domestic violence. That played really well with potential employers. I later found out Mike and Amy had been planning this for weeks. They'd been documenting every single argument we had, twisting normal conversations into something else. They'd even been taking pictures whenever Amy got a bruise from bumping into something, and she's clumsy as hell, always has been. They were using those to create a fake history of abuse. They even roped in some of the neighborhood moms. Suddenly, women I'd had barbecues with whose kids had birthday parties at our house were writing statements saying they always suspected I was abusive, that they'd heard us arguing all the time. Yeah, because Amy would be screaming about CrossFit at 6 in the morning. One even claimed she saw me grab Amy's arm aggressively while unloading groceries. In reality, I was helping her carry bags because she'd sprained her wrist doing God knows what with Mike. The worst part, CPS got involved. Amy was given emergency custody of the kids. I went from seeing my kids every day to being allowed supervised visits for 2 hours every other weekend. Do you know how messed up that is? Seeing your own kids in a depressing government building while a social worker takes notes on everything you do. I had to cash out some of my stock options just to afford a lawyer. Thankfully, company bylaws let me keep the rest since I'd been there over 5 years. Small mercy, I moved into a depressing studio apartment near my brother because it was all I could afford after legal bills and child support. Lily wouldn't even look at me during visits. Later, I found out Amy told her I was sick in the head and needed to get better before I could come home. Max just cried and asked why I didn't love them anymore. Try explaining false domestic violence allegations to a 5-year-old. Actually, don't. It's impossible. Most of my friends disappeared. Funny how people vanish the second you're accused of something like that. The few who stayed were guys from work, people who'd seen firsthand how much I sacrificed for my family. They knew the real story, but legally, they couldn't do anything. Meanwhile, Mike and Amy weren't even hiding it anymore. Mike moved out of his house with Jessica, who had her own storm to deal with when she found out. Now he and Amy were posting gym selfies, going out to restaurants, living their perfect couple life, using my child support money to fund their romance. I had to start driving Uber on weekends just to survive. I went from leading engineering teams to picking up drunk college kids at 2 in the morning. The irony? Some of my passengers were interns from my old company gushing about the amazing project I'd been fired from. Remember those stock options? The ones I had to partially cash out for my lawyer? Yeah. This is where it gets wild, but first let me paint you a picture of rock bottom. I was living in a 400 square foot studio apartment that smelled like the previous tenant's 50 cats. Had thrown a rave, working 2 jobs, junior dev at a corporate hellhole during the day, the only place that would hire me with pending DV charges, and Uber at night, living on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches just to keep up with child support. I still had about 200,000 shares of my old company's stock, but I couldn't sell them yet because of lockup periods. The startup was doing okay, not amazing, but staying afloat. We had this security software that helped companies manage their cloud infrastructure. Boring tech stuff. Until Log4j happened. For the non-tech folks, imagine someone found a way to break into almost every company's system through a tiny hole no one had noticed before. That's Log4j, and our software just happened to be really good at finding and fixing that hole. Right place, right time. One random Tuesday, I'm in between Uber rides, glance at my phone, and there it is, 50 missed calls. Turns out Amazon Web Services is buying out the startup I'd been part of, and the stock price just rocketed from $4 to $247 a share. I must have done the math 20 times because I thought I was hallucinating. 200,000 shares, $247 equals $49.4 million. Before taxes. First thing I did, threw up. Second thing, called my lawyer. Third thing, threw up again. Then it got fun. The acquisition made local headlines. Local tech startup acquired by Amazon for $2.11 billion. My name was buried in there as one of the early employees. Guess who reads local tech news? Amy's lawyer. Within 24 hours, I get an email from Amy, her first message to me since the arrest. Suddenly, she's all sweet and concerned, like we're best friends again. Hey, hope you're doing well. Been thinking about our situation. Maybe we should talk about what's best for the kids. Translation: I heard you're rich. Let me get my claws in. I didn't respond. I just took a screenshot and sent it to my lawyer, then went right back to driving Uber. I wanted to keep things looking normal until the acquisition was finalized. I didn't want Amy blowing anything up. But of course, Amy wasn't done. The very next day, Mike shows up at my regular coffee shop. Total coincidence, right? He tries to play it cool, acting like we're old buddies again. Hey man, water under the bridge. We all make mistakes. Amy's really sorry about everything, right? She only accused me of abuse, got me arrested, took my kids, and destroyed my reputation. But now that I'm worth millions, we're friends again? Sure, Mike. I kept driving Uber right up until the acquisition closed. The looks on passengers' faces when they recognized me from the news articles? Priceless. Aren't you that guy who? Yep. That's me, your millionaire Uber driver. When the money finally hit my account, it didn't feel real. After taxes and fees, I walked away with about $28 million. First thing I did was buy a modest 3-bedroom house in a gated community. Nothing flashy, but good security and close to the kids' school district. Next, I set up college funds for Lily and Max $2 million each in trusts they can't touch until they turn 25. Then I started a small software consulting business. Not because I needed the money, but to stay busy and have legit income. I even hired a few of my old teammates who'd stood by me. Then Amy made her move. I got served with papers at my new house. She wanted half the acquisition money, claiming we were still technically married when the stock value went up, plus recalculated back child support based on my new net worth and primary custody, because obviously, in her mind, a violent abuser shouldn't have millions to spend on his kids. Here's the irony: if she hadn't had me arrested, forcing me to cash out early, she might have had a case for half. But documented domestic violence allegations change things. One Sunday morning, she shows up at my house, first time I'd seen her in person since court. She's dressed all modest in a Target outfit, no makeup, puffy eyes like she's auditioning for a Lifetime movie. Can we talk? She says, it's about the kids. It's always about the kids with her. Funny how they weren't her priority when she was destroying their dad's life. Still, I let her in. I had security cameras everywhere and my phone recording in my pocket. That's not trust issues, that's experience. She sits on my couch crying, says Mike manipulated her, convinced her I was cheating, told her I'd leave her broke and take the kids. She says she was scared, confused, blames him for everything, right, because bruises magically appear, and fake witness statements write themselves. Then she hits me with, I know I messed up, but I'm still legally your wife. The stock value increased while we were married. I deserve half. For the kids, this woman had me arrested, took my kids, and tried to destroy my life. Now she wants half my money. She says, the kids miss you. We could be a family again. Start fresh. Sure. Nothing says fresh start like false abuse charges. She'd clearly rehearsed this whole thing, even brought up our first date. Like a stroll down memory lane would erase the hell she put me through. While she's talking, my phone keeps buzzing. Turns out she'd already told her lawyer she was attempting reconciliation, trying to spin some narrative before going after my money. Then the tears start again. She says life's been hard, working extra shifts, barely affording the kids' activities. Maybe stop buying $200 leggings, Amy. Then the final move: I've talked to my lawyer. If we can't work this out, well, I have rights. The stock value increased during our marriage, and with your history of domestic violence, and there it was. The threat behind the tears. I let her finish, even offered her some tissues, the cheap, rough kind, not the nice ones. Then I told her, I'll have my lawyer contact yours, and I walked her out. Immediately, I called my lawyer. Turns out she'd already filed for emergency spousal support, tried to modify the custody agreement, and even reached out to my old co-workers for dirt. The comedy of it all. She's still posting Instagram quotes about rising above negativity and finding your truth right in between gym selfies with her new trainer. Guess Mike got replaced, and here's the best part: court date last month. Amy shows up looking like she raided the Salvation Army, plain dress, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. Really leaning into the struggling single mom act. She even brought the kids, against court orders, to sit in the front row like props. Her lawyer wearing a suit that probably cost more than my first car opens with. Amy supported him through his tech career. She sacrificed her ambitions to raise our kids, that's what her lawyer claimed. And apparently, that meant she deserved half my money. Then he dragged the abuse allegations back into the spotlight, painting me as some volatile tech bro who just got lucky and might flee the country. Said I could be dangerous now that I had unlimited resources. Meanwhile, my lawyer Greg, absolute legend, just sat there taking notes, looking completely bored. Amy kept glancing at me like she was waiting for us to panic. Then it was our turn. Greg straightened his tie, stood up, and said, "Your Honor, before we begin our defense, I'd like to present some new evidence that's recently come to light. Cue the security camera footage from my house." See, Amy hadn't just shown up once with her fake tearful apology. She'd been coming by almost every day while I was at work, trying to get inside. And guess who was with her half the time? Mike. The footage showed everything: Amy and Mike sitting in his car outside my place, literally rehearsing her emotional little speech. You could see her planting fake letters in my mailbox, letters she wrote to herself about being afraid of me, dated before she ever filed those abuse charges. And yeah, the footage even caught them laughing about how easy it was going to be to take half my money. But it gets worse. Remember those bruises she used to frame me? My Ring doorbell caught them staging them back when they were still living next door. The video showed them applying makeup to fake bruises, taking staged photos, even practicing her scared wife face. The judge's reaction: absolutely priceless. Amy looked like she was going to throw up. Mike, who'd been subpoenaed, kept trying to sneak out, but the bailiff made him sit there and stew in it. And then Greg dropped the nuclear bomb. Turns out Amy and Mike had done this before, twice, to two other guys. Both were successful tech workers. Both were falsely accused of abuse. Both were destroyed in divorce settlements. Amy and Mike had this scam down to a science. Enter Jessica, Mike's ex-wife, and it turns out the real MVP. She's a lawyer herself and had been building a case against those two for months. She walked into court with a binder full of evidence: texts, emails, bank transfers proving Amy and Mike split their scam earnings 50/50 after every divorce. By the time Greg finished, Amy's lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. He started backpedaling so hard I thought he might trip. "Your Honor, my client may have been confused about certain events." Yeah, okay. The judge wasn't buying it. She called a recess, came back an hour later furious, and threw out Amy's entire claim for my stock money. She ordered Amy to pay all my legal fees, then referred the whole case to the DA for potential fraud charges. But the best part: the custody arrangement. After seeing the footage of Amy and Mike plotting and planting evidence, the judge ordered an emergency custody evaluation. For now, the kids were with me full time, while Amy was under investigation for perjury and fraud. Oh, and Mike, dude, literally sprinted for the parking lot after court ended. Got tackled by Jessica's new boyfriend, who just happens to be a cop. Karma. Meet Mike. A lot's happened since that courtroom showdown 3 months ago. First off, Amy and Mike got arrested. Turns out running fraud schemes across state lines makes it a federal case. The FBI had apparently been building their own file on them for weeks. They even found 3 more victims besides me, all tech guys, all hit with false DV charges, all lost everything. Amy and Mike had this disgusting little system nailed down. The kids are with me now full time. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been rough. You try managing 2 traumatized kids while figuring out how to be a full-time single parent. The first week, I burned dinner 3 times, sent Lily to school in mismatched shoes, completely forgot Max's show and tell day. But we're figuring it out. I hired a child psychologist, Dr. Sarah, not using her full name for privacy, who specializes in parental alienation. She's been amazing with the kids. Lily finally opened up and told us Amy and Mike coached her on what to say about me, told her to say she was scared. Max, poor kid, was told I didn't want to see them anymore because I loved money more than them. Who does that to their own children? We've moved to a better neighborhood now. Still modest, nothing flashy, but safe, quiet, and with great schools. I let Lily design her own room. It's now basically a shrine to all things pink. Max got his own gaming room. He's obsessed with Minecraft. And yes, I've got a security system that would make Fort Knox jealous. But it makes all of us feel safe. I'm working from home full time now. My consulting business is doing fine. I've hired a solid team so I can focus more on being a dad than on code. Funny how life works. I spent years chasing tech success, and now my biggest accomplishment is making Max laugh with my awful dad jokes. Amy? She's looking at 15 to 20 years, fraud, perjury, and a few charges I don't even fully understand. Her lawyer tried to work out a deal, but the feds weren't having it. Organized fraud targeting tech workers? Yeah, the FBI hates that. Mike flipped on her instantly, cried in FBI custody, claimed she was the mastermind and he was just a pawn. Total BS, but he's still staring down at least 10 years. Jessica, Mike's ex, has been amazing through all this. She's helping the feds build their case and has even been helping with the kids. They remember her from the old neighborhood, and she'll come over sometimes to bake cookies with them. No drama, just a genuinely good person showing up for 2 kids who've been through hell. Money-wise, everything's squared away. I've set up trusts for the kids, made some safe, boring investments per my financial advisor, and even started a foundation to help other fathers dealing with false DV charges. We've already helped 3 dads get custody of their kids back. That makes everything I went through feel like it had a purpose. Dating? No, I'm not bringing anyone new into my kids' lives until they're truly ready. They've already endured enough adult chaos for one lifetime. Some silver linings have come out of all this, though. Remember my old company, the one that fired me after the DV charges? The CEO actually called me, apologized, and offered me a consulting gig. I turned it down, but he also wrote a public letter clearing my name. I didn't need it, but it meant something. Lily's doing better in school. Her teacher says she's smiling again, participating in class. She's joining the science club next semester. Guess she got her nerd genes from me after all. Max is still Max, pure joy, endless energy, and a heart way too big for his little body. He told me he wants to make computer games that help people. When he grows up, even the neighbor who'd written that false statement against me came by and apologized, said Amy had shown her fake evidence and convinced her I was dangerous. We're not friends, but it's one less person looking at me like I'm a monster. Some days are still hard. The kids have nightmares. Lily gets anxious if I'm gone too long. Max still asks if I really want him living with me. But we're healing together, one day at a time. TL. Dr. ex-wife and her CrossFit boyfriend facing federal charges. Got my kids back. Focusing on being a dad. Started a foundation to help other falsely accused fathers. Holy crap, this blew up. Thanks for all the support through this whole saga. For everyone asking about the foundation, yes, it's real. But no, I'm not sharing links right now. Don't want to dox myself. If anything major happens with Amy's case, I'll post again. For now, I'm focused on my kids and building a fresh start. Final note, I've changed a few small details for privacy, but the core of this story is 100% true. If you're a father going through something similar, document everything. Get a good lawyer. Don't give up. Your kids need you.